All right, and good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's session of Truly Foundation and A Course in Miracles with your host, your guide, your temporary teacher, your coach, your friend, and ultimately what is changeless and what is unalterable is our oneness. That though it appear that we are here in these separated expressions, and we are to an extent, but in truth and in reality, we are as we've always been from before the foundation of the world, before time was, before there was any form or any experience. We were all created in the oneness that we share with the one creator, the one God, the one reality that we all share. And so I am excited today, as always, that truth still remains true always. That nothing about our human experience changes anything about our original creation. And that is such a relief, and it should be a relief to all of us, knowing that that which God created, that is timeless and formless, like God is, that it can never be altered, it can never be changed. But that which God created can decide to have what we're having, which is a human experience, without altering the very nature of who we are, without rearranging anything that happened in the very beginning. And so we can have absolute confidence. We can be absolute certain about our identity. We can be absolutely assured that we remain as God created us, that we remain these timeless and formless beings, that we share the one life that God is. That in reality, we're not these billions, 8 billion different expressions. In reality, we're not, these limited body, mind selves. It's just what it takes to have a human experience. And we're thankful for that. But what we're even more thankful for is our true identity. I mean, it's quite obvious that if you have experienced this life over any amount of time, where you have come to a place where you're making your own decisions, asking your own questions, determining what's important to you, it's quite obvious that all of us come to a place in our life where there is this burning desire, where there's this inner impulse to know the truth of our identity, to discover what life is all about, to come face to face with the author of life, the creator of life. All of us have looked for these answers in our experiences, in our relationships, even in our work, our gifts, our talents. We've looked for answers, in religious communities. We've looked for answers among our families, our children, in all of the activities and all of the events, we've tried to make sense of this thing called life, or our life, or what is the purpose of it. And regardless of what we acquire, regardless of what we experience for a short period of time, there's always seemed to be something that's still beneath the fray of life, something beneath the form, something beneath time, something beneath the limitation of this world that is still calling out to us, almost like it's calling us home. And so that is why we are here. That's why Truly Foundation was founded. I can say that it's a direct outreach, or it's a direct reflection of my journey to discover my true identity, because yes, there was a time in my life where nothing made sense to me. There was a time in my life where I did not understand all of the history of this world, and definitely was in fear over what I was experiencing in my lifetime. And I think I am even grateful for that, because that sense of loss, that sense of not knowing, that sense of fear, right? Let's call it what it was. It led me to a self-inquiry. It led me to a desire to discover some answers, to get some answers that I was searching for. And as a result of that, I started my own spiritual journey. I would say my own spiritual journey, but reality from the day that we get here, from the day that we're born, our spiritual path, our spiritual journey starts the time that we appear in these body-mind expressions. We may not know it, but in reality, all of our earthly experience is our spiritual path. It's like we appeared here only to find our way back home. Some of you know what I mean. I'm reminded of what Jesus said in scripture. He said that I'm in this world. I know I'm here, but I'm not of it. He knew that this was not the home place. This was not the reality, that we were journeying through this experience called humanity, only as a temporary experience. And he discovered early in his life, even as a child, that there was a reality that was beyond what could be seen, what could be felt, what could be heard, what could be touched, what could be tasted. And so early in Jesus's life, he became very metaphysical. He began to live life. He began to fellowship with life beyond the physical. He began to be so sensitive to the laws that govern this universe. He became so sensitive to the law of love, to the law of God, to the point where, as never spoken before, he began to acknowledge this supreme source, this creator, as Father. He began to acknowledge God as being his Father, which got him into a heap of trouble. Why? Because humanity at the time that he was on earth never saw themselves in that manner. They didn't have the self-image of themselves, and they definitely didn't have that image of God. That intimate oneness that Jesus brought by sharing this Father-Son relationship that he used to express the oneness that we share with God. They understood that in the natural, that naturally fathers, sons, they understood what that meant, that the Father and the Son was one, in the sense that, every child is born has the same abilities. It has the same qualities as that which the Father shared in providing the body and the mind for the child. So ultimately, there was an equality. And so Jesus tried to bring that idea to humanity during his day by calling God his Father. Even the religious people of the time say, you calling God your Father, what you're saying is that you have equality with God, because that's what that father-son, a father-child relationship means, that there's equality there. But Jesus knew that to be the truth. He said, yes, I and my Father are one. When you see me, you have seen the Father. So even as a child, Jesus understood the oneness that he shared with the Creator. He understood what creation was. He understood his own creation, that it didn't start when he was born of Mary. But true creation is timeless and formless. It was before the world was founded. So as it is with all of us. Our creation did not start in a hospital or with a midwife or wherever we may have been physically born, associated to a body. But our creation started before there was any form, before there was any time. And we're on this section right now in our study that's answering the question, what is creation? And we said that creation is every thought of God, infinite. Basically said that creation is God. And ultimately we can say that there is God and there is nothing else. Therefore, we would have to conclude that whatever God is, that is what we are. That is who we are. And whoever we is, that's what God is. I know those are some very profound statements, but they're very true. We will never be satisfied with any other religiosity that we experience in life. We will never be completely at peace. We will never experience this oneness that is our reality until we embrace the reality of who we are. The identity crisis that has appeared to be at the root of all humanity's problem from the beginning of time can only be solved in the knowing of the truth, or the embracing of the truth. And so here the Course says that in reality, there's God and there's nothing else. And in reality, God extended its very own self and called that extension creation. Called that very extension himself. And then he called it very good. And that is our beginning. That is our true creation. It has nothing to do with a body or a mind or a world or all of the things that are, in this world of form. But if there is a world of form, and there is, and if there are bodies, and they are, there's only one origin. There's only one creator. There's only one originator from which these things can spring. And so even in our incarnation, even in our human experience, just like our elder brother Jesus did. When he was in form, when he was in a body, he said he was in Philippians 2:5-6. He said he was in the form of God, even as it being in a body. He said, being in the form of God, he thought it not robbery to be equal with God. So Jesus knew early in his life that there was only one creator and only one creation, and we were that. Humanity was that. And all living things was that. That separation was not a reality. It's a temporary experience. That's why the Course refers to it as an illusion. That just only means it will not maintain the form that it is. You notice everything in this world changes, constantly changing. It doesn't maintain the form that it appears in. It always seems to be in a state of what? A state of dissolution. In fact, Scripture tells us that we're not to look at the things that are seen, but the things that are not seen, because the things that are seen, the things that are in form, including our bodies, are what? They are temporary, meaning they're subject to change, meaning they're not eternal. But the things that are not seen, what is not seen? Every thought of God. What is not seen? Your creation. Who you really are. It cannot be seen with the natural eye. So he said we look at the things that are not seen because they are eternal. So who we are is unseen and it's eternal. Meaning unseen to the natural eye, but it is seen by the spiritual man or the spiritual eye. What is the spiritual man? It is understanding. It is knowledge. It is knowing. Paul said that grace and peace is multiplied to us through the knowledge, through the knowing, through a direct experience of coming to a moment of awareness, a moment of enlightenment where we discover that, oh my God, there's only oneness and I'm a part of that. That there's only God and I'm a part of that. Therefore I am. And these are the deeper truths that we sometimes are afraid of or we seek to avoid. But even so, there's a promise that's been made. It's called salvation. And in that promise, the one creator, the one reconciler of all things, has made a promise and has made a guarantee. And he made that promise to himself because he could find no greater. He made an oath with himself because he could find no greater, saying, truly blessing, I have blessed my creation. And what does blessing mean? Bless me. To be blessed means that what? You have access to everything, that you are one with everything, that there is no separation, that what's in the Father is in the Son, what's in the vine is in the branch. That it can never be separate or separated. Forgive me there. I got a little drip. Can never be separate. Can never be changed. Can never be altered. That's why Jesus is one of my favorite teachers, because he explained this in so many ways through Scripture, talking about what's in the vine is in the branch, that you can't get bitter water and sweet water out of the same source. So what he was teaching us is that what God is in everything. not necessarily the form, but the essence of all things. God is, because there is only God. There's only one reality. There is only one truth. There is only one source. As much as we have tried over the history of the world to divide and to separate and redivide and separate even the more, it hasn't changed reality. It has not changed reality. There is no separation. There is no great divide. There's only the one. There's only God. There's only love. And it is that discovery that is what all of us are really looking for. And the good news here is that it is here, and it's been here all this time. It's in every mind. It's in every heart. One of the Old Testament prophets says God has placed eternity in the heart of humanity. And that's still true. When did he place eternity into humanity? Before the foundation of the world. So we can't get away from who we are. We cannot alter or change who we are, regardless of our experience, regardless of our beliefs, regardless of our unbelief, our fears, regardless of our not knowing. We cannot alter the divine reality, the divine creation of God. So in reality, there is no identity crisis. We remain as we always been, as it was in the beginning, is now, and forever shall be. We are the creations of God. We are the offsprings of God. And just like our elder brother, we can say what? I and the Father are one. The glory that God is, the holiness that God is what you are. It's what I am. It's what all humanity is. God is the source of all life. And there is but the one life. And so if there's only the one life, we share that one life with our one creator. We share that one life with each other. It's demonstrated in the creation story when he said God breathed into humanity what? The breath of life. Not different breaths, but one source, the one breath that we all share. The one life that we all share, the one being. Though there appear to be 8 billion different beings on the planet, in reality, there's only one. And so what we would have for ourselves is what we would have for others. What we would have for others is what we would have for ourselves. Because we are linked together, and we cannot be unlinked, though it may appear in the natural. That is the idea of illusion, because that tends to give us a message that separation is real. And that's our reality. And if that's our reality, then that means that what? Our reality is anxiety and fear, because we know what that thinking, that idea brings about fear and anxiety. But do you think God is the author of fear or the author of anxiety? Absolutely not. So it would have to come from an idea or belief that we somehow are separate from our creator, that there is this duality in reality. But in reality, there is no duality. There's only the one. And so in this section that we've been studying on what is creation, it says here that creation is what? It says creation is the sum total of the thoughts of God, in number infinite and everywhere without limits. It says only love creates. Notice now, only love creates, and only like itself. So if there's only God, that means only God creates and only like himself. So if there's anything that appear to be unlike a loving, all-encompassing source we call God, then it would have to be categorized as that which is not real, which we can say, hey, it's just an illusion, it's just a temporary idea, but it's gonna run its course. It's gonna eventually run out. It's like these bodies that we find ourselves associated with. You have noticed that these bodies have a birth date and an expiration date. Why? Because they're just temporary. They only need it for this temporary experience. And so the fear and the anxiety comes when we attach our identification only to the body. It creates a lot of fear. It creates a lot of anxiety because we know how vulnerable the body is. And we know the ultimate, state that eventually it comes to its usefulness and then it's laid aside. But thank God we're not the bodies. But we are every thought of God because we are creation. We are God's creation. So that means that we're every thought of God. In number infinite and everywhere without any limits. And only love creates and only like itself. There was no time when all that it created was not there, nor will there be a time when anything that it created suffers any loss. That means that you are eternity. You have eternal life, that you are in your true self is an infinite being. It's an infinite self. That is great news. To embrace that is to let go of all fear and all anxiety. To know that you're infinite, to know that you're eternal, to know that you are timeless and formless and changeless and unalterable. To embrace that as your reality, which you should, because only love creates. You cannot hold on to fear or anxiety. You cannot hold on to unforgiveness and hold grievances when you realize that, because you realize that this reality is not some personal reality, but it is the one reality that we all share, that it is true, that all humanity is one, that it is true that we are to love our neighbor as ourselves. Why? Because our neighbor is ourself. When we bring these realities into our identity, there's no way you're going to harm another. There is no way you're going to withhold from another. And so that's what creation is. And so you are, as well as I am, as well as all humanity and all living things, is the sum total of all God's thoughts, which are endless and without limit. And we can never suffer loss. And we live in this environment where it appears that loss is in abundance. But in reality, there is no loss. In reality, there is no birth. In reality, there is no death. Because only love creates like itself. And there's no birth, no death, no sickness, no disease, no loss in love. And so in our true identity, there is no death, no birth, no sickness, no limitation in us. In the human experience, it appears that way, but that is not who we are. That is not who we are. And so forever and forever are God's thoughts exactly as they were and as they are, unchanged through time and after time is done. And so that's the true creation. Like Paul said in Ephesians chapter 1, that before the foundation of the world, that we were chosen, that we were created to be holy and blameless and without blame in love. Why? Because love created us. That we are to the praise of the glory of our Creator. Why? Because the Creator and His creation are one. And I can go on and on and on and on about what is creation, because we need to know. And every time we think we know, it expands, because remember, it has no end. It's infinite, meaning no beginning and no end. There's no beginning and there is no end to our reality. How's that for identification? So much grander than your government name, so much grander than your government number. So much more eternal. And so in Workbook lesson 322, which is part 2, because I started part 1 and never got to the lesson, so let me make sure I finish today. So today's lesson, out of A Course in Miracles, which is our study guide, A Course in Miracles. It's just what we use to go a little deeper, a little wider into the truths of who we are. You know, Paul said that, you know, it's time for us to move away from the elementary things of the elementary things of God. That we need to move on to more mature understanding. More weightier things, more meatier things. And leave the surface and go deep. And that's what we do here, somewhat here at Truly Foundation. We say that we offer advanced spirituality. We offer advanced teachings. Why? Because we know that the nature of humanity is expansion. It is in all of our nature to grow, to be constantly growing, to be constantly expanding, because that's a part of our very own nature. It's a part of the nature of God. Why? Because we're infinite beings. And if you're an infinite being, that means what? There's always an expansion. There's always, like the Bible says, we go from glory to what? To glory, to glory, to glory. There's no destination per se. But there's an eternal extension, an eternal experience of this infinite being that we all share. And so Workbook lesson 322 talks about we can give up. We can give up, but what was never real. Let me say that again. It says, in reality, the only thing that we can really give up in life is that which was never real. That which is real, it can't be given up. That which is real, it cannot be threatened. It cannot be altered. It cannot be changed. So who we really are as the creations of God, that can't be given up. It can't be separated. It can't be isolated. It is what it is. We are who we are by the grace of God, by the creation of God, by every thought of God, infinite in number, created in love only, having no loss, having no birth, having no death, having no limitation, forever and ever, like it said over here, forever and forever, as God's thoughts exactly as they were and as they are, unchanged through time and after time is gone. So even after time and space is no more, even after this physical world of form is no more, we still will remain these infinite eternal beings that God created. And so it says, we can only give up what was never real. So we can only give up the temporary. That's why you get out of these. That's why eventually, these bodies are no more, because they're temporary. That's why eventually, this world as we know it will be no more. Why? Because it's only a temporary expression. And we can only give up what is temporary. We cannot give up the real McCoy. You cannot give up your true identity. You can only give up your false belief, about a false self. You can only give up ideas that are not in harmony or in alignment or not in integrity with the truth of who we are. We can give up fear. We can give up anxiety. We can give up the thought of lack. We can give up the idea of sickness and disease and pain and suffering. All of these things that we have made to be a substitute to our reality. We can only but give up those things. That's what it said. We can give up but that which was never real. And what's the test of reality? That which is real can't be threatened. It can't be changed. It can't be altered. So anything that is in form, that means that it's only temporary. And in reality, is not real. The only thing really in this dimension that is real is you and me, and not the body self, but our divine self, our infinite self that we share with God and that we share with each other. That's the only reality that there is on this three-dimensional plane. The only thing that is real, the only thing that is eternal, the only thing that is infinite. And you are that. And so it says we can only give up the illusion. We can only give up that which is not real. And it says we sacrifice illusions. In other words, we give them up. Nothing more. You cannot sacrifice reality. There is no sacrifice in reality. There's only sacrifice in illusion. There's only sacrifice in form. There's no sacrifice in the formless, in the timeless, in the eternal, in the infinite. So in reality, the whole idea of sacrifice is an illusion. The whole idea of sacrifice is an illusion. And we have a whole history of sacrifice being something that is sacred, something that is, something that gets us where we think that we're not. And here is telling us that it is the only thing that we can give up. Why? Because it is not needful. When we know the truth of who we are, there's nothing to sacrifice. There's nothing to atone for. Because in reality, there is no sin. There is no separation. There is nothing. Things remain. Heaven remains, God remains, love remains, and we remain as we were created. And so it says, sacrifice. We can only sacrifice. It says, I sacrifice, or we sacrifice nothing more than but illusions, that which is not real. Every thought that we have ever come in contact with that is not a thought of God, it's not real. So we can sacrifice that. What does the sacrifice mean? It is It is done away with. Something that is sacrificed, it is done away with. It no longer exists. It is what they call donut dead. And there's a lot of things in our thinking. There's a lot of beliefs as a result of our experience that needs to be what? Sacrificed. It needs to be let go because it doesn't serve our true self. It doesn't serve the truth of who we are. It does not serve the glory that has been bestowed upon us. It's not worthy of the purity. It's not worthy of the innocence and the wholeness that we all share. And we need to let them go. Ideas, thoughts, beliefs that are limited and that keeps us in a state of suffering and pain. They need to be sacrificed. They need to be laid upon the altar of nothing and let go. And it says, and as illusions go, we find the gifts illusions try to hide, awaiting us in shining welcome and in readiness to give our Creator and our Creator's ancient message or messages to us. So illusions only temporarily hide the truth of who we are. Illusions only temporarily hide the truth of who we are. And so we need to sacrifice them. We need to give them up because they are not reality. What are you thinking about yourself that is not equal with God? Everything that you think about yourself that does not advocate your equality with God or with all humanity, you need to let it go. It is what's causing the suffering. It is what's causing the fear. It is what's causing the anxiety. Our thinking, seeing ourselves as something that we're not. Seeing ourselves as these change beings, these temporary beings, these limited selves. This is what's causing the pain and suffering, our misperceptions. And they need to be sacrificed on the altar of nothingness. And so it says, God's memory abides in every gift that we have received of Him. What is God's gift? It is the memory of God. It is the memory of who we are. When Jesus says, do this in remembrance of me, He wasn't talking about Him personally. He was talking about what He represented, which was the oneness of all humanity. Whatever He spoke, He was not speaking just of Himself, but Jesus represented all humanity. And when you embrace that oneness that we share, you realize that your life represents all humanity. That how you see yourself is how you see humanity. How you see humanity is how you see yourself. How you see yourself is how you see God. How you see God is how you see yourself. And so if our perception is in error, if it's based on separation, if it's based on a body self, a body-mind self, then that explains the trauma and the drama, the pain and the suffering, the sickness and disease, the war, the fighting, the destructive behavior of humanity. That means our thinking is off. So what needs to happen? Our minds need to be what? Transformed or renewed, like Paul tells us in Romans, that we are to what? Be transformed, not conform to the thinking of this world, but be what? Be ye transformed by the renewing of our mind. In other words, allow our minds, or allow the mind of Christ to be ours. Like he said, let this mind be in you that was also in me. So that you know that you are here in the form of God, and that you have equality with all of God and all of life. The inferiority complex that we struggle with, the way we view ourselves, where we see and feel that we're not worthy, that we're not uh, whole or complete, where we feel as though that we are something that we're not. This is our own thinking. This is our own doing. This is our own conditioning that's been passed down from generation to generation. But we are here today to say that needs to be given up, because it's not your reality. Anything less than you and God are one, it's not your reality. Anything less than the fact that you are holy and blameless and innocent and infinite and self-aware and impersonal, you need to let it go. That's what's causing the pain. That's what's causing the suffering. That's what's causing the psychological hurt. It's the not knowing. And that's why we're here at Truly Foundation, to bring this depth of reality to humanity, so that we can wake up to the reality of who we are and begin to live in the love that we share, begin to live in the abundant life that is within all of us. And so he says that every gift, he says that every gift that we have received of God has within it what? The memory of God. I love what the Course says about Jesus and how he discovered himself. This is how Jesus discovered himself. He makes it very plain in the Course. And all of us are on this journey to find ourselves. So check out what Jesus did. It said that Jesus saw the face of Christ in everyone and remembered God. He saw the oneness that we share. He saw within humanity their divinity, and not as a separate divinity, but one divinity that we all share, that we all are these divine creations of God. And when he embraced that truth, the memory of God became readily acceptable in his conscience. And it was from that revelation that he viewed the entire world, that he saw only the oneness of humanity, that he only saw the oneness of God everywhere. And he saw the illusions everywhere. But he was able to look past the illusion of birth and death and sickness and disease and anguish and all the conditions that was brought before him. He could look past all of that because he knew it wasn't real. He knew it was only a mask in fear. It was a mask in not knowing. And so he said, I came that all humanity can experience the life that was given to them in their creation, that they may have life and that they may have it more abundantly. It was already present. It was already present. It was just covered up by our what? By our thinking, that we were these separate beings by our thinking, that we were, these limited beings. We were limited to the limitations of this world. We thought we were, we were what we were not. And so Jesus woke up to the truth of who he was. And as a result, he became this what? He became the reconciler, the savior of all the world as a man. And so when we wake up to the reality of who we are, you become the reconciler. You become the savior of the world, just like your elder brother. No different. He's not special. He shared the same life that we do. He said, as you are, so are we in this world. Where I am, there are you also. There is no separation. There's never been a separation. Only a belief, only a thought that is not real. And that is what needs to be sacrificed. That is what needs to be given up. And that's the only thing that can be given up. Your reality cannot be given up. And so he says, and every dream of separation serves only to conceal the true self, which is God's only creation. So every dream of separation, every idea of a false self, every belief that we are divided, that we are sinful, every idea that we are something separate than what God is, it is only there to cover up your true self. It's only there to cover up the reality of your God self. And so it is our effort to remove the blocks to the awareness of our true self. That's our goal here at Truly Foundation through the advanced teaching. And so it says, and every dream serves only to conceal the self, which is God's only Son, which is the likeness of himself, the Holy One who still abides in him forever, and as he still abides in us. And so it is this holy oneness that remains untouched, that remains as it always has been. And it is in the removal of the blocks to the awareness of this oneness, this one love that we share, this one life that we share with God, this one being that we share with God, this one self that we all are. It is the removal of the block that causes us to wake up to this truth and to let go and to give up all that was not real about us. And that's what this journey called life is all about. It's a rediscovery of what has always been. We're here to rediscover what has always been. And so this lesson ends with a declaration, and I'm just going to read it, and then we're going to be out of here. It says, Father, and anytime the word Father is used, like Jesus said, I and the Father are one. When you've seen me, you've seen the Father. What's in the Father is in me. I in the Father, and Father in me. And you in me, and I in you. It's only a symbol or a message of oneness. So in the spirit of oneness, in the spirit that we are this one shared being, that's what Father means. One shared being. In the natural, if you have children, what's in the children is in you, and what's in you is in the children. Likewise, in reality, what's in the Creator is in It's creation. And what's in creation is in the Creator. You are one with your Creator. It cannot be any other way. And when we embrace this, all the anxiety, all the fear, it dissipates. And so, Father, or so oneness, it says, to you, all sacrifice remains forever inconceivable. So it's inconceivable to God that sacrifice is required or even exists. Why? Because God knows there is no separation. There's nothing to sacrifice. There is nothing to pay for. Heaven is intact. Nothing has altered reality. So it says, to you, all sacrifice remains forever unconceivable. Why? Because from God's perspective, nothing has happened. Everything remained as it always has been. We're just the one here, having this dream of separation, trying to find ourselves. This is just the human experience, and it is this idea that God is the same way, and it's not true. It is this idea that reality must be confused and looking for itself too, and that's not the case. Only in dreams, only in illusions, only in hallucination, only in vain imaginings, only in fantasies, that we believe that we are something that we're not. Only in sleep. So it's inconceivable. Nothing has changed. You are as holy as God is. You are as innocent as God is. You are as pure as God is. You are as whole and complete as God is. You are as eternal and infinite as God is. This is your reality. This is all humanity's reality. And so it says, and so I cannot sacrifice except in dreams. So it's only in this dream of separation, the dream of these body selves, that the idea of the idea of sacrifice comes into play. Only in dreams. It says, as you created me, I can give up nothing you gave me, because all that was given to us in creation is true. All that was given to us in creation is reality. It's changeless. It's unalterable. So it says, as you created me, as you created us, we can give up nothing you gave us, because it's real. It says, what you did not give has no reality. What God has not given, it has no reality. God is love. And if it's not love, God hasn't given it. And so if God hasn't given it, it's not real. It's an illusion. That's what he's saying. And he said, this is what we need to give up, because it was never real. He said, I can give up nothing you gave me, because all that God gave us was his very own self. He says, what you did not give has no reality. And what loss can I anticipate except the loss of fear? Because that is what God did not give. So if there's any loss to be had, it is the loss of fear. It is the loss of anxiety. It is the loss of unbelief. It is the loss of the belief in separation and the return of love. When we let go, when we sacrifice to fear, we realize that the only thing is present is love. And we are a part of that love. The only thing that is left is God. And we are part of God. And so he says, the only anticipation of a loss is what? The loss of fear. And we need to lose it. And the return of love into our very own mind. That's what renewing the mind means. That's what it means to be transformed. Transformation is the return of love. It is the letting go of fear and a return to love. And a return to love is like returning home where we never left, because in reality, we've never left the heart of God. Ideas leave not their source. We are ideas of God. We are every thought of God. And no thought of God leaves God. That means we've never left home in reality. We've never been apart from God, only in dreams. Now we have awakened to this reality. And now we can see clearly. Why? Because the illusions have gone. The false self, the falsity, the false belief about who we are is gone. The inferiority complex that we have held about ourselves is gone. The unforgiveness and the grievances that we've held among each other, when we let those go, we can see clearly now. And all there is love. The only thing that remains is love. The only thing that remains is the real you that loves you. And so to conclude lesson 322, it makes sense, right? In reality, all we can give up is but that which was never real. And that's the only thing we want to give up. And all that which was never real came out of fear. And fear came out of the idea that we were separate from God and from each other. And out of fear came a world of lack, a world of scarcity, a world of sickness and disease and killing and birth and death and all what we have experienced here. But when we wake up to the truth, we see a different world. We let that world go free. And we see now a different world. We become just like our brother, where we now see the face of Christ in everyone and remember God. Now that's a different world. That's a different life. That is the abundant life that Jesus said that he came that we may have. And it comes through an awareness. It comes through a consciousness. It comes through Christ consciousness. That's what Christ consciousness means. That's what it means to be awakened. And they're making fun of the word woke now, But that's okay. Nothing has been changed. None of our ignorance, none of our denial, none of our foolishness, none of our ignorance have changed reality. Thank God for that. God is our only reality. God's your only reality. And that's the good news. And that's lesson 322. Thank you so much for sitting here with me this hour and 3 minutes. I am so happy and grateful for the truth that is true always. Seeking ye shall find, knocking it shall be open unto you. Asking it shall be given. And if you're listening to these lessons, these workbook lessons, if truly foundation resonates with you, it is the answer to your asking and seeking and knocking. It was for me. And there's much more to come. There's so much more to come. There's so much more to know about our reality, about the truth of who we are. You can't live enough lifetimes to come to know all about who you are, because you are endless, just like your Father. And I love it. How sweet it is to be loved by love. And Heidi. Hello, Heidi. And that's it for today. We'll see you on tomorrow. We'll be back at some time. And if you can't catch the live, the replays are always on our YouTube channel, Truly Foundation, or our Facebook page, Truly Foundation. You can always find us there. So come and join us on this journey of transformation, on this journey of awakening. All right. Have a good evening. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.